Yeah. It was almost one of those, like, I think we're ready to leave. Okay, so I think we're all start.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for this April 6th MSAD 60 School Board meeting. We'd like to start out now by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin by having Elva Lovejoy read our public input statement.
The first public input session is a 21-minute session with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. But a second public input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. The speaker will give his or her name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designated for district residents, but the board chair may grant non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Statements concerning subject matter that falls under the law regarding executive sessions, for example, matters involving personnel, cannot be made during public input. We, as a community, pledge to treat each other as we wish to be treated. We pledge to seek understanding when there may be disagreement. Regardless of outcomes or opinions, we pledge to move forward with respect.
Thank you, Elva. And now we are going to ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to make a statement or address the board. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So we'll move on to approving the minutes of March 30th. Does any board member have any input?
My only question was towards the beginning, the second executive session that we had, we voted in favor and the motion passed? I don't think we voted on anything. I think they were just updates. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be the only.
We'll fix that.
Otherwise, they're fabulous.
So if there are no other amendments, we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended. I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? And the motion is passed. So it looks like we won't have a student report tonight. Okay,
But
so
we have students.
but we have students. So, welcome North Berwick Elementary School. I'm really thrilled about you being here tonight. I think we all are. And we are looking forward to hearing about your program, The Odyssey of the Mind. So if you could please stand up and share your news, we would love to hear from you.
So these, hey, come on.
You can come on up here.
Two Odyssey of the Mind members from the winning team and their coach, Miss White. So this is Oliver Corning.
Hi.
What's your favorite food?
Probably chicken.
This is Arabella. Arabella, what is your favorite thing to drink?
Milk.
Miss White, what's your favorite food?
Pasta.
So what was your favorite part of doing Odyssey of the Mind?
It was very fun working together and making ideas about what we were going to do next.
Arabella, what about you?
Really fun working together.
Miss White?
I liked watching the kids work together as a team, and I especially liked watching them come up with their play. It's very good.
So this is the first Odyssey of the Mind team that North Berwick has had in, I think, 6 years. It could be 5 years, but certainly it's been a while. And so it's really exciting that Miss White brought it back. And look forward to starting a new tradition of getting kids out there and just problem solving and being creative.
So you did a play.
Yes.
Is there any chance that we could see part of this play sometime?
Good answer.
Do any other board members have other questions they'd like to ask the kids?
What was the play about? What did you enact?
Maybe you can read what's on here, because this is kind of the,
Classics, The Wall of Troy, Division One, First Place.
yeah, they made their own play about the walls of Troy.
Oh, nice.
Wow. So did you have a Trojan horse?
Kinda.
I know.
Be transformed into something.
Yeah.
Different.
Tell them about it.
It was a present this time instead of a Trojan horse, because
Ah.
Trojan horse was kind of like a present.
Mhm. Well, that's excellent. Thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing the good news about your award. Congratulations. And we hope to be hearing more good things from you next year.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
And next, we would like to invite Jenica Osborne and Sophie Larson up to talk about the Quebec trip.
Is this when I joined with the Google Meet?
Yeah, yes.
Cool. Oh, let's see here. How do I share my screen, kids? Isn't it usually the three dots?
Present now, yeah.
We can see you on our monitor up here.
I think they
And
want
then
to
you click the
flash some pictures from,
Oh,
so I think she's just flipping the screen.
Thank goodness I brought students.
And Sophie, I think you need to mute yourself because these mics are picking up. Thank you.
No.
All right, so I'm sorry the audience can't really see what I'm sharing, but this year, the French department were able to resume our annual trips. We've been going yearly for field trips out of the country, and this year we were able to resume it after COVID. So we went to Quebec up in Canada. It was a horrible bus ride because we left in a snowstorm, and I think we traveled north with the snowstorm. So what was projected to be like a 5-hour ride, I think we were in that bus for a solid 11 hours.
my
The kids were so patient. The bus driver was amazing. It was very stressful to sit in the front seat and not actually be in control of the car. So it was a good practice and just like letting go. But once we were there, the fun began. So I wanted to share that we brought 50 students and we had 5 chaperones.
Wow.
And we gave priority to senior students. So we had sort of a tiered sign up so that the students who are about to graduate would be able to make sure to be able to get on this field trip. So we gave priority sort of according to grades, that the upper level kids were able to go first. But even with everyone signing up sort of in a, opened gradually signing up, a few freshmen were able to go as well. We went at the beginning of this month. Kiddos missed Thursday and Friday, and then we were away all Saturday and all Sunday, and then we were back to school Monday. So it was fast for all of us. Kids were, of course, responsible for making up missed work. So for all of us, it was, a fast turnover, landing here Sunday at 9:30 and then being ready to go again the next morning, catching up on work. So for sure, we're proud that the students were able to, they're diligent students, so they were able to stay on top of their grades, even though we had sort of 4 days out. We went to the city of Quebec and we visited some of the surrounding areas. So you can see that we practiced, we did so much. I had to write it down to know what we were doing, but Quebec is one of our biggest trade partners, and they're our closest neighbor, and they speak French and we teach French. So it was a good opportunity for the kids to practice their skills in real life situations. And we visited amazing cultural and iconic landmarks, waterfalls, forests, public parks, the Basilica of St. Anne, and then the upper and lower town, which are it's the only or the oldest walled city in North America. It's a lot of historic, old buildings, and it was very cute and fun. We went to the Museum of Civilization and we saw an exhibit about poop, which was very silly, but very informative. And so I guess the takeaways is that for many students, this was their first time out of the country. For many students, this was the first time ice skating or speaking French to a native speaker or
tobogganing or snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. There were a lot of firsts for a lot of students. And so that was a really lovely thing to be able to share with the kids. And for many of these kids, they didn't have, you know, they were meant to go to Washington when they were in 8th grade, and that got disrupted by COVID, really. So for many of these kids, this was sort of their first real big field trip that they were able to do after COVID. So it was really gratifying to be able to share that with the kids, and it kind of felt, you know, like restitution in a way. And I brought along a couple of brave kids who have like 30 seconds worth of stuff to share with you.
So hello everybody, my name is Alexis. I'm a French 4 and 5 student, and I think my favorite part about this trip was being able to engage with French culture in such a real life experience, because we do some things in class where we watch videos, but nothing is better than in real life and getting to talk to people. So I think that was the best part about the trip for me.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm in French 4, and I really loved this trip. It gave me a chance to get out of the country, and I got to do it with my friends, and I had the best time ever because I got to learn about all of this French culture. I got to experience all these things. I got to speak some real French, like in the real world, like Madame said.
So that's the Quebec trip. And I also wanted to just real quick share about our culture fair, which we did just on the tail of Quebec. When we returned here, we were able to resume our annual culture fair, and we haven't had it here at the high school since 2018, I think. In 2019, we had it actually over at North Berwick Elementary School, and this time we decided to keep it here so it could be a little bit of a bigger event. It would be easier for our kids. And then we invited the elementary school students to come over. So here are a few pictures, and you can see that there were performances, there was dancing, there was food. That's a model catapult in the bottom there, and then lots of videos with information. Oh, how my thing isn't switching slides. Okay, here we go. All upper level students, that is level 2 and above, shared something. They picked a topic that they wanted to learn about, and they learned independently outside of class, and that's what they shared at the culture fair. We kind of supervised them a little bit and made sure that it was school appropriate and that they did some in-depth learning, and it wasn't just, you know, copy pasted, but it was really their own projects on their own time. And we invited families. It was a parent-teacher conference night, so many families were able to come. And we invited them to, the 4 and 5s have been mentoring over at North Berwick Elementary School, and they invited the kids to come up and see it. So many took opportunity to do that. It was really wonderful to be able to show to families what we do, because many families really don't get a good idea of what the language department does unless we sort of have events like this where they can come see. And for many students, they also said this is the first time that they've done something that sort of goes out to the community. And that's really also since COVID, because we've been sort of more insular after COVID. And this was, again, opening up to a bigger event and being able to kind of, you know, do that outreach so kids know, oh, look at all the languages that are being taught, and that's what we can do when we get older. So that was really fun and lovely. And many students were very proud of their work. And we were very proud of their work too, but, you know, but it was great to see the students put so much effort into. So that's all I have to share.
That's a lot.
We decided to keep busy.
Sophie, if you're comfortable, could you share those slides with me so I could?
Absolutely.
Thanks, that'd be great.
I'm going to leave the call and not take up the screen anymore.
Thank you.
But if there are any questions, I think I tried to answer all questions.
Anybody in the audience have questions? Well, thank you. It sounds like a wonderful trip and a great fair. And
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. Movie night coming up over at North Berwick Elementary next month. So we have a movie night for little kids to enjoy some world language movies. I like that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you too.
Thank you for coming in.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Our next order of business is the FY 22 audit presentation.
So,
Order. Yeah.
as they're getting ready, I'm just handing out 2 documents. This is going to be presented and this is some follow-up information. So you're getting 2. There you go. Thank you.
I'm sorry that they didn't stay for your presentation.
You're laughing. Fortunately, they think you're less exciting than that.
We think it's exciting. Okay, so Jen Connors is here. She is from our audit firm, RKO, and she is here to present the results of the fiscal year 22 audit. Fiscal year 22 ended in June of 22. And so we are just closing the loop on this, and we'll be able to answer questions after if you have any.
Great, thanks for having me. So yeah, you should have a set of graphs that looks like this. For those of you who have it last year, it's pretty similar to what I did last year. It's just a brief overview of the audit itself. And then there's some supplemental information that I printed off from the state's website, which I'll talk about in a minute. So if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to jump in at any point. If you want to flip right to the second page here. Well, first of all, I would like to say that the audit went very well. No issues. So overall, very clean audit, very well organized. We always appreciate the fact that when we show up, everything is basically ready for us. A lot of the information is scanned in. I know that the staff, that they put a lot of preparation into it. We appreciate all the work that they do. As far as the audit itself, so the financial statements received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion on the financial statements. And then besides the audit of the financial statements, we are required to do testing under government auditing standards. And under those standards, we are required to test internal controls that relate to financial reporting. And under those standards, we had no findings, which the highest level of a finding would be a material weakness. That's a point at which you have issues basically at a systemic level. The next step down with that, from that would be a significant deficiency, which serious enough to bring to your attention, but not systemic. And then below that would be minor recommendations and comments. And we actually didn't even have any minor recommendations or comments. So again, overall, very clean audit. And then because the school district does receive and spend over $750,000 in federal awards, it's also required to undergo what's called a single audit under the uniform guidance. And under that guidance, we are required to come in and test some of your larger federal programs, which this year we tested ESSER, which is the Education Stabilization Funds, and also the Special Education Cluster, which is local entitlement preschool. And under those requirements, there were also no findings. So no findings both for compliance with the grade requirements and also no findings for internal controls over those grades. So.
Can I take a second?
Yeah.
Thank you, Denise. For all, and all of the staff for all you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
My staff is amazing and they go above and beyond to make sure we fall like this. So I'm grateful to them. Yeah.
So the next few graphs that we have kind of go into the details of the numbers on the financial statements, mostly looking at the general fund for the school district, which is your largest, most important fund, because that's where the day-to-day operations are reported. So on page 3, we have an overview of the general fund balance over the last 5 fiscal years, and it's broken down into different categories. So your general fund balance is broken down into 3 categories, the first of which is non-spendable. That is a portion of your fund balance that's not readily available to be spent. It's usually made up of inventory, prepaid items, and sometimes long-term receivables, which in 2022, that was actually made up of some prepaid expenditures. The next category, which was a little over $2 million in 2022, was the assigned fund balance. And that is the portion of fund balance that is internally designated to be used for specific purposes. In this case, that is the amount that is budgeted to be used in the next fiscal year's budget. And then the last category is unassigned fund balance. So that is the portion of your fund balance that is left over after you have put amounts into those other categories. So overall, total fund balance actually decreased by about $529,000 from fiscal year 2021. So it was at 4.8 in 2021, and then it decreased from that. Most of that had to do with transfers that were made to other funds, and we'll go into that a little bit more in the next few pages. On page 4, this is also the general fund balance. Unassigned fund balance. And it's expressed as a percentage of the school district's budget, again, over the last 5 fiscal years. So you can see that each of the fiscal years, it was increasing. In 2021, it was just under 9%. And then in the current year, it actually decreased to 6%, which that is a good thing because the Department of Education, the state itself allows you to carry so much forward as what they call unallocated fund balance. Currently in 2022, that is capped at 9%. So you are under that threshold. If you were to exceed the threshold, then you basically have 3 years to come up with a plan to use up that fund balance. Then on page 5, we have the general fund revenues, budget to actual analysis. So looking at the larger variance, charges for services were lower than anticipated due to fewer tuition students that were attending the school district. Other revenues were also under budget. There were fewer sports and activity fees that were received than anticipated. And overall total revenues were around $42,000 under budget, which is actually 0.001% of the budget. So they were really, really close. Yeah. And then on the next page, we have the expenditure side, again, looking at the general fund. Actual. And again, looking at some of the larger variances. So for regular instruction, you can see those expenditures were lower than budgeted. And that was due to staff retirements, health insurance costs, and utilization of federal grant funds. Special education expenditures were lower than budgeted due to, again, retirements, positions that were not being filled, and less use of tutors and substitutes. School administration expenditures were lower than budgeted due to lower expenses for staff benefits and lower than anticipated tuition reimbursements. Transportation and buses expenditures were lower than budgeted due to unfilled bus driver positions, fewer out-of-district needs, planned health insurance increase that did not actually take place, and savings on bus repairs and parts. Facilities maintenance expenditures were lower than budgeted due to budgeted but unused benefit amounts, budgeted but unused contracted services, and reduced expenditures for custodial maintenance and ground supplies. Overall, total expenditures were under budget by about $1.6 million. But then, as I mentioned, you also had some transfers out, which is basically why the fund balance decreased. So you see that there's a line there for transfers to other funds. So there was a transfer of $531 to the capital fund. And then there was an additional $5,000 transfer to one of the special revenue funds. On page 7, this is the general fund revenue distribution. So what this is it's comparing your local assessment to intergovernmental revenues, again, over the last 5 fiscal years. They're expressed as a percentage of the total. So local assessments, you can see basically increased over the last 4 years and then decreased this past fiscal year. Intergovernmental revenues on the flip side increased. And just so you know, your intergovernmental revenues are actually made up of education subsidy and then other state reimbursements such as board certification. So in the prior fiscal year, education subsidy was around 20.5 million. And in fiscal year 2022, it was 21.4 million. And in case anyone notices this, that does not equal 100%. I've had people point that out to me. The reason is because you do actually have other revenues in the general fund that are not in this graph. This is just specifically looking at your local assessment and the intergovernmental revenues. The next couple of graphs that I have are the general fund expenditures broken down into different categories. So each category is a percentage of the total expenditures. So on page 8, we have the 2022 pie chart, and then on page 9 is the 2021 pie chart. So you can kind of compare the two fiscal years. But I will tell you right now that those are basically about the same. They usually don't change that much from year to year. Regular instruction did decrease by 1%. Other instruction increased by 1%, and student and staff support decreased by 1%. That's basically what we see is just a fluctuation by a small amount. Now, the handout that I also passed out, that is from the Department of Education website. And what that is the state actually provides those percentages both for statewide as well as other school districts. So you can actually compare these numbers on these graphs to what the statewide numbers are to kind of see where they line up. So for example, I will tell you that regular instruction is comparable. Special education is maybe 1% lower. Other instruction for the statewide is about 2%. Student and staff support statewide tends to be about 8%, so you're a little bit higher in that category. Facilities maintenance statewide tends to be about 11%, so you're also a little bit higher in that category. But that kind of gives you an idea of where you line up compared to other school districts. And I have one more slide. So on page 10, this is just a quick summary of some of the school district's other balances. So these are the special revenue funds that the school district has. These are amounts that are set aside and they're restricted for specific purposes. So you have your adult education fund, your adult education enrichment fund, school grants. So those are both your federal grants as well as some local grants, your school lunch fund, the Hussey Theater, the International Student Program, and the student activity funds. So overall, adult education increased by about 43,000. Adult education enrichment increased by 9,000. School grant funds actually decreased, but we would actually expect that because most of those grants are on a reimbursement basis, so they tend to equal out. Your school lunch fund did actually increase by $508,000, and a lot of that had to do with an increase in subsidy for the school lunch program. So last year you received about $1 million in state subsidy, and this year you actually received closer to $2 million in school lunch subsidy. Student activity funds increased by 53,000. The International Student Program was actually zeroed out this year. And then at the very bottom, we also have a note about the capital projects fund. At the end of fiscal year 2022, it had a balance of about $194,000. That did actually decrease by $1.2 million, and that had to do with the planned spending for various projects. That is basically what I have. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
It's-
You're welcome.
And I would echo what Stu said. Thank you, Denise, for your leadership.
Very soon. Yes.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my fiscal 22 portion of the meeting. I think the next thing on the agenda is that the 23 update through March. We're hitting all my fiscal years today. So you should have received the board's financial summary with the agenda. I don't know if anybody has any questions. We're still seeing just that school administration line, which will be offset again by some funds in the student and staff support line. As always, if you have questions, feel free to contact me. Any.
Thank you, Denise. So now we move on to vote to call and approve the warrants for the budget meeting and the validation referendum. And
All right, super, thank you. So earlier today, Jen sent you the documents that you need to sign. If you could do that after this meeting or tomorrow. We're going to bring the information to each town office on Monday because we have 2 that are not open tomorrow. So it's okay for us to bring everything over and post on Monday, so that's good. So what we're going to do, I need to keep record of what we're doing a little bit just for people that are present, you know, our board that's present, and then how you're voting. So we'll go slow so I can get that done. We do have a motion that needs to be read, which is right here. And then we need an official vote on that motion. So I don't know who wants to read the motion.
Lauren was like, gave that look, like,
All right, so
hey, I have to.
Lauren is, I'm just gonna start by just recording who's present. So Lauren, Lynn, Kate, Elva, Stephanie, and Victoria.
So the motion, you don't have to do the whole voted part, you just the motion part,
Just
yeah.
the part in bracket.
I move that the vote entitled "Vote to Call and Approve the Warrants for the Budget Meeting and the Budget Validation Referendum and to Authorize the Notice of Amounts Adopted" be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote to be included with the minutes of this meeting.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Just gonna write this down.
Okay.
Okay. All set. And Kate, you have an additional email that's going to have you, okay, just as the board chair, you. Signed. Yes,
Okay.
thank you. All right.
Okay, so now we're going to go through the nomination of probationary administration.
Okay, and similar to how we did this prior, the last time, we're not reading the names. You received the names ahead of time, so we just need a motion to accept that group.
I'll make a motion to accept the probationary administration listed as on our document.
All those in favor? Passed, the motion is passed.
We do have some employment updates. The first one is a request for a leave of absence, and it's for Jessica Silverman, who is at Noble Middle School, ELA, Language Arts. She teaches 7th grade. She's requesting a year's leave of absence next year due to just childcare, family. So we do need a consideration and an action on that.
I have a question if I could. So, is it going to be easy to replace her, with a temporary?
We,
staff member?
yeah, we typically will advertise for a 1-year only position,
Okay,
and we've had good luck with that.
all right.
I mean, relative to
Yeah.
how things are right now.
Okay,
This, English language arts is not a high need.
It's easier to fill
Fill these than.
okay, okay. All right. Do you have a
Good
motion?
question. Good question.
You said Jessica Nolan?
Jessica Silverman.
Silverman. I make a motion, that we accept Jessica Silverman's leave of absence. I'll second.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
We have 3 retirements. So these are always significant years in the district, right? So the first one is school counselor Susie Leclerc from Huzzy School. She has been in MSAD 60 for 34 years and in education for 45 years. I believe she started in MSAD 35. She did. Okay, so we're doing these each individually. So we need a motion to accept that.
I make a motion to accept the retirement of Susie Leclerc and thank her for her many years of service in our district. She's been wonderful.
Second.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
The next one is Eileen Sahagian, who is the Excel teacher at Knowlton School and Huzzy School. She has been in our district for 16 years and has been in education for 32 years. So again, we need a motion. A second.
I'll make that motion. Again, I make the motion to accept Eileen Sahagian's retirement and thank her for her wonderful years of service.
I'll second.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
And the third one is Lisa Balhaus, who is also an Excel teacher. She's currently at Lebanon Elementary School. She's been in MSAD 60 for 10 years and been in education for 20.
And I will round it out.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the retirement of Lisa Balhos and thank her for her years of service in our district.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are triple credit, got it.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
And then we just have 2 resignations. We have Erin Johnson from Huzzy School. She's a kindergarten teacher. So we need a motion for that.
So that one too. I make a motion to accept the resignation of Erin Johnston.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
You got me.
And that's effective June. Like I didn't say
Yeah, end of the year.
that. It's the end of the year. It's not a meeting.
And thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
And we have the last one we have tonight is Casey Powden, who is 2nd grade at Huzzy School.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Casey Powden.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? And the motion is passed.
Before you open it up to other,
Mhm.
one thing I didn't say in the beginning is if we could just have a very, very brief executive session at the end of this meeting.
Okay.
We had a late in the day addition that we needed to make.
Okay.
Thank you.
So does anyone have any other?
I have 2 quick ones.
Okay.
Just a comment that, the Noble's Got Talent, we made it for the first half of the show and it was incredible. The talent in this district was absolutely phenomenal to see and the kids did such a great job with it. So that was a lot of fun. The second, a parent had reached out to me. She was actually hoping to make it to the public input and I said, if you don't, I'll mention it at least. Just kind of wanted, asking questions and wanted to revisit the conversation about student resource officers at other schools besides just middle school and high school. And I did look up the, what?
Is that Brandy maybe?
No,
Oh, somebody different.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I did, kind of, I mentioned that we had talked about it previously after the Sanford scare
Mhm.
and that there are a lot of complications. And I did actually look up the main law about who can, because I love the idea of like a retired military or something, but I do look up a lot and it unfortunately only law enforcement can carry that in a school. But still looking at ways to explore that and just wanted to put that back on our radar.
Anyone else? I wanted to put this on our radar. I think it's probably late in the year, school year to make it a priority, but I'd like to look at the website for the district and propose that we give it an overhaul. When I was writing the letter for the annual report, I was trying to fact check and make sure that I had correct information. One of the things that jumped out was the information for the graduating class was dated 2021. So I think probably need to be a bit better about keeping those up to date and making them easier to navigate. And I'm happy to be involved in that.
Who's currently responsible for keeping it updated? Estacio did a great deal of work in the beginning of the school year, updating that. Some of the buildings, you know, it falls to buildings to keep some of it updated. Some of our technology department does, Jen, central office one updated. So it really does fall to a few different people, but yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it is very hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is just tech, it's so rich and
There's a lot to it.
Yes.
It's a very comprehensive site,
Mhm.
so things do not always get caught up. So it's definitely I think it's the constant for anybody that has a website is trying to keep it up to date.
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah. It's
It
hard.
is choosing.
Any other?
We usually do it the second meeting of the month for PTO also, but I did want to mention for last month, one thing that I did forget to say is that 3 PTOs pitched in to send espresso Dave to the transportation center. For
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think the Wednesday of Bus Driver Appreciation Week. Espresso Dave is just like a traveling truck with espresso, like coffees and stuff. So at least that.
Thank you. So at this point, we could go into an executive session?
We kind of, yes.
So we're going to close out the regular meeting and just let people know that we're not going to have any other business after we come out of executive session. That's for people on.
Going to-
Go ahead.
We do need.
Thank you very much.